Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Tuesdays with Morrie, written by Mitch Albom. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, this work is very fascinating. I think it says a lot about human life. I think it says a lot about just living. I think by the time you're done reading this book, you're going to want to read it again. When I read it yesterday, it was Tuesday yesterday, and when I sat down, to read it, I was like, okay, this is a short book. It doesn't seem to be, complicated. It just seems like a narrative that I'm going to read. It's gonna, just a normal story. But I've learned so much just reading this in one sitting and exploring it, and so much that it taught me about life and about what it means to be a human being and what it means to love and to care and to exist in a world with other people. I think this book really shines a light on how most people, maybe you, maybe in my life, that we're most of the times we're living for the wrong things. So this is, in my point of view, this is a masterpiece. I know when you look at world literature and you look at the masterpieces in world literature, this book doesn't come up that often, but I think it should, just because I think, it really tackles the meaning of life and what it means to live. So let's just go on to into the summary so that I don't, just keep going on about how great I think this book is. Um, Basically, what happens is that we meet this kid by the name of Mitch Albom, and he's like a normal kid, ambitious at the beginning of life, goes through the K-12, goes to college, and everything is going fine, just like any other American kid. You spend pretty much the entire beginnings of your life in school, and then you follow the crowd into college, and you're thinking about your dreams, and then reality hits you, and you think about what you can do to earn a living, to earn a life, to what you can do to make enough money to buy a house, to have a family, to buy the nice car, to eat at the fancy restaurants, because part of the American dream is pretty much owning stuff and owning lots of it. So Mitch Albom is pretty much like any American from any background. If you're an American, your mind process is to, build your finances, obtain things, and build your status. And the world that Mitch Albom lives in is pretty much everybody gets sucked into that world, because we all are chasing wealth and power and money and prestige, and we always, specifically in the age of social media and the age of likes, and the age of crowd and attention. I think that we all get lost in that search for more fame, more prestige, more stuff. And Mitch Albom, after he graduates college, he goes into trying to become a musician, and then he realizes that his dream of being a musician is not feasible. He goes back to school, and he leans towards journalism and newspaper. Working with newspapers and working with sports and working with media. But the thing is, like, what's significant is that while he was in college, he met this professor by the name of Morrie. Now, Morrie is just a very interesting character. He's a professor of sociology. And while Mitch Albom was in college, he took a lot of classes with Morrie Schwartz. And Morrie Schwartz is this individual that just sees life in different glasses. He sees life in different ways. And the way that Morrie Schwartz sees life is in the way that where he enjoys it, in a way where he experiences it, because he values people, right? He values his loved ones. He values spending time with people. He values nature. He values those who are close to him. He values the world. He feels sympathy and empathy for people. He's all about feeling his emotions, expressing his emotion. He cries. He's a man that doesn't have a problem with crying. He's a man that doesn't have a problem with being soft. Most people in the world today, wherever you go, if a man is soft, if a man is too in touch with his emotions, he's considered to be weak. But Morrie Schwartz is not about all of that. He's all about understanding others, listening to others, comprehending others, being there for others, loving the world around you, and just existing and experiencing all of it. This becomes more of a reality when we figure out within the book that Morrie Schwartz has ALS, and that his body is slowly deteriorating, that his body is slowly dying, and we learn that later we're told by Morrie himself that he's going to die by suffocating. And so the book really becomes this, the media is heavily involved, because, of course, Mitch Albom works in the media. The media ends up covering the life of Morrie Schwartz and what it means to be Morrie Schwartz and how he lived his life, and that instead of deciding to die and to let ALS kill him in his bed, he decides within the book to go back to work as much as he can, to live as long as he can, to live his life as normally as long as he can. So he wasn't taking this fight laying down. He was fighting to live the life that he had left, although he knew that he was literally biding his time. He was literally on his deathbed. So basically what happens next is that Morrie Schwartz is being covered on the news. ALS at the time, we know Stephen Hawking's. We know there's a lot of people that have ALS around the world and that there's no cure for it. There are, treatments and things. I mean, in 2021 today, there's treatment for it or some types of ways you can kind of like, I would say, not cure it, but delay it. So I'm not an expert in ALS, but that's what it says in the book. So I'm just telling you what it says in the book. So basically, Morrie Schwartz, there's no treatment at this time. There's no treatment for him. There's no way out for him. All he knows is that he's going to die. They his doctors pretty much within the book, they conduct all of these tests. They take his urine, his blood, stool samples. They do everything. They try to figure out everything. I mean, at first they didn't even know what he had. So they ran all the types of tests that they could find on Morrie Schwartz to kind of like figure out an answer for his illness, but they couldn't find anything because it's ALS. And eventually Morrie Schwartz, he's on the news, and Mitch Albom just sees him while he's flipping the channels on TV, and he decides to reconnect with his old professor. Now, when Mitch Albom and Morrie Schwartz, when they were in college, or when Morrie was his professor, Mitch just loved his classes. He pretty much took all of his classes. They wrote an honors thesis together, and they were really close. There's a part within the book where at graduation, Mitch Albom hugs. Mitch hugs Morrie and he gives him a briefcase as a present, and they were very close. Morrie cries. I mean, it's like a teacher-student moment, really close. They love education. They love each other's. Mitch loves his professor's classes, and it's great. It's awesome. But after college, Mitch pretty much goes away, and he falls into the things that every other American falls into. At first he goes and tries to become a musician. That doesn't work for him. Then he goes back to college. He gets a master's. He goes into journalism, working with paper, working with that type of work. And what basically happens, he goes into this overdrive mode where he's chasing money. He's going after money. He's working night and day. He's just chasing after the paper. 16 years goes by, and that's when he hears that his teacher, Morrie Schwartz, is sick on the news. So he's making this money. He gets married. He doesn't have children, and he pretty much doesn't plan on having any children. And he's living his life for goods, right? And this is that's really significant within this work is that Mitch is living his life for material goods, right? Mitch is living his life to the point where it's always about the bigger paycheck, right? It's always about the bigger car. Americans love big cars and nice cars, luxury cars. We love it all. So it's all about the money, the cars, the houses, the property, the fame. I mean, he's working for big newspaper titles. He's working with famous athletes, famous celebrities. He's making his money. He's disconnected with everything, and he's unhappy with his life because he doesn't speak to his brother. He doesn't speak to his family members. He basically, I mean, the little bit we get about his wife is just so little that it seems like everything else, every other person is just background characters. And he's living his life for stuff. He's living his life for prestige. He's living his life for upward mobility. That's all that matters to Mitch. And when he hears of Morrie on the news, he thinks about Morrie and how close they were, and he decides to go visit Morrie. What's convenient here is that his job had a strike, and the union broke out, and the union was mad with the newspaper, and this and that and the third. People were fighting in the streets. I mean, there's a lot of one thing I would say that's really fascinating about this novel is that there's a lot of little pieces of narrative that is woven in throughout this work. That's very fascinating, especially when you look at the little news stories that are woven into this book. For instance, when you're reading this, if you're not paying attention, there's a place where it goes, a baby was found in a trash can today, or two young kids shot each other with their father's gun, or two teenage girls killed this old man, and they had a party with his dead body. I mean, if you're not paying attention while you're reading this book, you won't catch those newspaper headlines when they come up and when they're said in passing. But they do happen, and they happen in certain times that are very important to this book. And that's really fascinating. So, back to the main storyline. So Mitch goes to visit Morrie. They at first it's emotional. Mitch is embarrassed. He didn't want to do it, but he does. And he finds that Morrie is dying, and Morrie now knows he's dying, and Morrie just becomes this philosopher. Morrie becomes this man who is exploring the world and what it means to be a human, what it means to live, what it means to exist. And to me, when I was reading it, he becomes a sage. He becomes this philosopher, this Socrates, this Aristotle, because he is talking. I mean, he doesn't mention religion that much, but Morrie pretty much is finding this intersection between religion, philosophy, all of the philosophies and the religions in the world. He pretty much brings them all into one. And he is letting people know this is what the meaning of life is. And it's not just Mitch Albom that's coming to see him every Tuesday. Throughout the week, he has several meetings with people from newspapers, people from magazines, because ALS, it was a disease that, was extremely interesting. There was no cure for it. People didn't know what to do with it. And you find this man who is, 70, 78, and he's fighting this disease. Now, some would say that Morrie was 78 years old and he was dying. So what? You know, some people would say, so what? I mean, the man lived a long life. He's 78. That's long life. I mean, most people on Earth don't even make it to 78. But the thing is, like, life is special. No matter what age you are, no matter what age you reach, no one wants to die. No one wants to leave their kids behind. No one wants to leave their loved ones behind. So although Morrie Schwartz was, 78 years old, the fact that he was losing his life in this way, the fact that it was being ripped away from him, it was an extremely dark and unwelcoming thing. So his meetings with all these people were very important. His meetings with Mitch Albom was very important. Because it revealed to us what the meaning of life is. And one thing I would like to add here is that you would think that when these people come to visit Morrie Schwartz, that he would be talking to them about his problems. But no. He listens to them. I mean, this man doesn't even have a lot of time to live. But he is sitting in his house. These people are coming to see him, and he's listening to their problems. That is quite significant. So what happens next within the book is that Mitch comes to see Morrie every Tuesday. He literally takes a plane to see Morrie every Tuesday because he doesn't live close to Morrie. And they decide, later to make a book that Mitch was going to record and write an essay or a book about Morrie's life. That he was going to write a book, an essay about Morrie's life that was going to preserve it, so that other people would know what the meaning of life is, so that other people would know how to live their lives better. And that's what happens within. That's why we have this book. That's why we're talking about it here. So throughout these meetings, there's about, I would say 14. I mean, there's more to the book. There's like 14 sections or 13 to 14 sections that kind of like talk about segments or sections of life. I mean, there's other parts. I mean, some people would say 11 to 15 sections. It depends on how because some parts are not labeled as sections, but it's kind of like labeled like a college course, right? If you went to college, or any syllabus, it's kind of like cut into pieces, or what you're going to learn this week, or what this section of the class is for. So Mitch and Morrie, they kind of have this one college course that they're taking. It's pretty much about the meaning of life, how to live life. That's the topic or the subject of the course. And it's taught on Tuesdays because Mitch and Morrie are Tuesday people. And they just jump right into it, and they're going to figure out the meaning of life. Morrie is this person, this experiment that is, at the time that this is being written or being recorded, he is both on his deathbed and he is also alive. So that's very significant. And he is in a position that, can help us understand what it means to be alive and on the verge of dying. So throughout these lessons, we witness Morrie's deterioration, how, at first he's losing the function of his legs, the functions of his body. One thing that he was really afraid of was wiping his own butt, and he loses his ability to do that. ALS just really takes all your independence away. Slowly within the book, he loses his ability to walk, his ability to sit down on his own, his ability to stand, his ability to do everything, to the point where his wife has to bathe him, has to wash his genitals, has to wipe his own butt. I mean, his wife ended up doing everything. His caretakers end up doing everything for him. His body is pretty much, he can't do anything. He can't move anything. He can't take care of himself. And all of this time, he's talking to people, cheering them up, telling them how to live their lives better. And also working with Mitch Albom, developing this book. We learn everything about Morrie. His life, how his father was cold and distant, how he barely knew his mother, and he had to read his mother's death letter, because they pretty much sent a letter to his house that his mother died. And so as a young child, he pretty much had a horrible life. I mean, his mother died at a young age. His father never hugged him, basically. His stepmom was better, but, life was never good for Morrie Schwartz. I mean, he ends up going to school, going to college, becoming a professor, which is very significant. But his life with his parents were really hard. I mean, his father was Russian, and he never showed Morrie any love. So when Morrie starts to talk to Mitch about the meaning of life, it basically boils down to this. All of the sections boil down to this. It boils down to loving other people, right? And the thing is, like, everybody says that, but what Morrie means by this is, like, do you really love other people? I mean, you can say it, you can tell someone that you love them, but do you really love them? Are you going to spend time with them? Like, saying that you love someone is one thing, but actually spending time in their presence, laughing with them, talking to them. I mean, you could talk about other nonsense, but if you're spending time to connect with them, to laugh with them, to be with them, that's part of loving someone. Morrie goes into marriage. He says, if you're married and you don't have the same values, if you're married and you can't talk openly about how you feel, if you're married and there's no respect. I mean, most people nowadays, they marry because of the glamour, because of lust and the sex appeal, but not because of character and the actual person. And then everybody's like depressed and unhappy 5 years later. Morrie goes into this because him and his wife Charlotte, they've been married forever. They met in college. They were married forever. They had lovely kids. They lived their lives because there was respect. There was love. There were open conversations. I mean, this woman is wiping this man's butt, and she doesn't flinch. She doesn't flinch. I mean, there's some people, if you're in a relationship, if you ask someone to wipe your butt, it's over. I mean, we're done. Like, I mean, there's some people, they're walking out the door. I mean, you're on your own. But Morrie Schwartz and his wife, they just had this understanding, this connection, this way of connecting to each other that they didn't even need to talk, right? Morrie goes into money. He talks about money and how we're all obsessed with material goods. One thing that's fascinating about this is that a lot of people are obsessed with wealth and power and money, and the thing is, one day you're going to lose all of it. I mean, the richest men in the world today, if you look at the billionaires, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, the list goes on and on and on, they will lose everything. I mean, they will lose all of it. Every penny. Like, all of it. The second that they're no longer living, they will lose everything. The cars, the houses, the wealth, the prestige, everything. It will all go. But the thing is, Morrie says the things that do last, it's not the material goods are just material goods. They're just stuff. Every time Christmas comes around and everybody like unwraps their gifts, you get the new phone, the new, game station, the new TV, the new house, the new car. There's always like this period where everything feels fresh and new and everything feels, just amazing, and you love that gadget or you love that stuff or you love the house, and then that newness just wears out and you don't like it anymore. It doesn't feel new anymore. And it feels old, and that same type of intensity that you used to have for that item is just gone. And you can only get it back when you buy the latest toys, right? So Mitch says, don't focus on those gains. I mean, he's not saying to go live underneath a bridge. I mean, you have to work, you have to eat, you have to, take care of your family. But at the same time, if you work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, I mean, that sounds impossible, but there's some people that's their lives. You're making money, you're making wealth, but your life is going by every single day, and you're not getting one day back. And you could think of it as, I'm gonna work for 40 years, build up my wealth, and then retire and spend my life and enjoy it how I want to enjoy it. But Morrie pretty much says nothing's guaranteed. I mean, you could work forever as hard as you want, but one day you could be crossing the street and you don't make it to the other side. I mean, it's sad to say, but that's life. Everybody has an ambition and drive and this want to be better, but not everyone makes it, and not everyone lives to make it. So Morrie talks about the world, the misery that's in the world. I mean, he cries over the news when he sees people being killed, people in poverty, people going hungry, people just going through all types of misery. He cries over it. One thing that he tries to do within this work, he tells Mitch that I'm going to get you to cry. And he does get Mitch to cry. He gets Mitch to be more human. Because several philosophers, several writers said in the past that when you disconnect from reality, when you disconnect from nature, people, your loved ones, and it's all about power and the material things of this world, all those things become background noise to you, and you're just hungry for more. And the hungrier you get for more, the more depressed you're gonna come. Because stuff is just stuff. You can have all the latest gadgets, and the thing is, like, you might be in this illusion where more stuff you get, the more happy you are. But the thing is, like, when you reach that age where you have all this stuff and nobody with you, I mean, you're gonna feel pretty alone. But Morrie Schwartz, within this book, he's this old man, the 70-year-old man. His house is filled with so much love, so much intent, like so much warmth, so much just, there's so much love in this house that you could probably cut it with a knife. Because his family love him, his friends love him, his students love him. Everyone loves Morrie Schwartz. People in the news write to him. Like, people reveal their entire lives to him and how they changed, how he changed their lives. Morrie goes into emotions and feeling and living. He touches on nature and how we should explore nature and see it and breathe it. Simple things like walking and tasting and eating and breathing and just existing. You only get to experience that once. And as soon as it's gone forever. So Morrie challenges Mitch to kind of really think about his wife. Like, I mean, think about it. I mean, Mitch was so caught up in wealth and power and money that his wife was pretty much an afterthought. He didn't want to have kids. He barely paid attention to her. And I think if it wasn't for Morrie Schwartz, Mitch probably, his wife probably would have left him. The book doesn't really even go into all of that. It's just, that's my own perspective, because I feel like the way that Mitch described his life, the character Mitch described his life within the book, is that, she was attractive, I liked her, we got along, we got married, done, right? And there was like a little, a sneaky comment that was like, oh, she wants kids, she's not gonna get them, which is really messed up, but, he was all about his money. But spending time with this professor, this sociology professor, he sees the meaning of life is to live it. I mean, most people are stuck trying to advance in the world, and there's nothing wrong with advancing. But at the same time, don't spend all of your time focusing on upward mobility, because not all of us are going to make it to 100. I mean, a lot of people think everyone thinks they're going to make it to 100. Everyone you talk to, they're like, man, I eat well, I exercise, I take care of myself, I go to my doctor. Yeah, I'm going to make it to 125. No. I mean, it's still, a lot of people are making it into their 80s and 90s nowadays, but still, the majority of people don't. Right? The majority of people don't. And so, you're looking at, I mean, for a lot of people, you're looking at under 70 years. I mean, in the U.S., life expectancy is 77, 77 to 80-ish. But every time you leave your house, every time you're in your house, everywhere you go, your life could be done right then and there. And if you're spending all of it shunning your loved ones and those who are close to you, and not enjoying your life and focusing on material things and focusing on all the gossip, because we all buy into the gossip. I mean, most people nowadays, and Morrie doesn't mention this, he doesn't go into this, but several people around the world spend hours, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours creating these online profiles for themselves. And you post all good things. You did this, you're smiling, you did that and this, the nice pictures and all that kind of stuff. And we love dopamine, we love the likes, we love all this and that, but our lives just keep going by. Especially when you fall into that binging stream, and you fall into that binging stream, binging social media, binging series, binging all this and that. Your life, you're not getting those days back. Your days of your life are passing by. You're not getting them back. Life is not forever. You might enjoy what you're watching, but your own experiences, I mean, you are watching things on your devices, but your own experiences of actually living, your own memories of actually living your life, you're just replacing it with filler. There's just so much that's within this book. This video is already getting really long, but basically, Morrie, within his several Tuesdays with Mitch, tells us to love each other, to be with each other, to care for one another, to let go of grudges. I mean, some people, they spend their entire lives hating other people. We're not forgiving other people. And those are great relationships that you could have had with someone that you pretty much throw away. I mean, when you had that one friend in high school, you guys got into an argument, then you decide to never talk to that person again, then you both die. No one wins, because you lost that friend, and maybe you guys could have been, even greater friends, and that would have made your lives better or even longer, because when you spend time with people, when you coexist with people, you have more to live for. I mean, the saddest thing ever is when you see on the news that a person died in an apartment like 4 weeks ago by themselves, and nobody checked on them. I mean, that's the saddest thing ever, that you died and nobody noticed, right? So loving people, being with people, everyone noticed when Morrie Schwartz died. And I mean, everyone is still noticing because of this book. Because Morrie Schwartz, this is not a narrative. Morrie Schwartz actually existed. This is a true person. This book is based off of a true man by the name of Morrie Schwartz, who had ALS, who died, and who said these things about life in this world. That's really significant. At the end of it, I think this makes a major difference on Mitch Albom's life. I think his life with his wife is going to be better. I think he's going to stop spending so much time chasing wealth and power and prestige and kind of focus on his own life more. Because one problem with wealth and power is that the more you climb the financial ladder, um, the more challenges are on top of you. So, because for every millionaire, there's a billionaire. For every billionaire, I mean, there's about to be trillionaires. There's always somebody else making more money. There's always another company making more money because everybody's trying to make more money. So you could be a millionaire and there's a billionaire on top of you and you want to be a billionaire, but that billionaire is trying to become a trillionaire. And then whoever's underneath you is envious and hates you. Whoever on top of you looks down at you and like, you don't have enough money. And then everybody underneath you is like, man, you have too much money. So sometimes you might want to build your status for society to love you more, but they actually hate you more. Because I feel a lot of people, and Morrie doesn't talk about this is my own opinion, I feel like some people incorporate the likes that they see on social media posts with the way in which that people actually feel about them. Because sometimes people just press it just because. Actual emotions being expressed, that's a whole other different thing. Because, I mean, social media only comes with so many buttons to react. So you might press the like button and you just did it because it's there. But feeling actual emotions, being with actual people, is something totally different. But that's the summary. Morrie, eventually he dies. He pretty much stops breathing. His family, his children, they all grieve. Mitch, says goodbye to him. It was kind of sad and it was really sad because this man lost, he lost his legs, he lost the ability to use his body. He became a baby that, to the point where people had to feed him, wipe him, wash him. And he died. But he lived a long life and he told his message on how we should live our lives and not buy into the culture of pretty much, because one central idea that he pretty much tells us is that society is kind of like this massive buffet of things that don't pertain to you, because we all flock to all this content and all this stuff that don't change your life. Because when you're done binging, when you're done liking, when you're done posting, your life hasn't changed. You're still you. You're still living in your world. So it's better to work on what is in your world, on yourself, rather than develop these online platforms that doesn't change your reality. Because even though Morrie Schwartz is not talking about social media, because when he was alive, social media wasn't as massive as it is today. Even though he wasn't talking about that, the same ideal existed with newspapers and tabloids and magazines and TV and because throughout this whole book, the O.J. Simpson trial was kind of like a background trial that was happening. Several murders, for some reason, in headlines, was in the background of this book. The country's social mood, the country's economy, like everything that was happening, and that's what's wonderful about this book is that Mitch Albom doesn't only incorporate Mitch's story. He's giving us a story of the U.S. and what was happening and how everyone was literally obsessed with the O.J. Simpson trial, how they were literally stopping their cars and parking on the road to hear what's going on with the Simpson trial. They were, every type of news, what did the latest celebrity do, what type of trouble they got into, like, all this stuff that doesn't change your relationship with your loved ones, that doesn't allow you to enjoy your life more. Because the best way to enjoy your life, according to Morrie Shorts, is to actually live it, to actually love others, experience it. But most people don't do that because we're stuck in these realities where we're focusing on this content, and some of it, not my content. My content's perfectly fine. You can keep watching that. But other content, right? Other content, you spend a lot of time on it and it might not even help you. Right. In terms of Morrie's death, Morrie, he dies. Mitch, creates this book. He publishes it. He reads about it. He actually changes his life. He helps people, children in Haiti. He creates nonprofits, and he changes his life. He becomes more aware of his life and his existence, and that it's not forever, and that material goods, I'm telling you, you spend your entire life building it, and one day, as soon as you die, it will all be destroyed, because your family members, your friends, your loved ones, they will be prepared to divide it into many pieces, and your stuff will be their stuff. And the cycle will continue, because the same thing that happened to you, as soon as each and every single one of them dies, their loved ones and other family members will line up to take it. So don't spend your precious time on earth on collecting stuff for other people. Try loving other people and building those experiences that will make your life more happy and make your life more meaningful. Because the meaning of life, according to this book, and even in my own perspective, is to enjoy it. It's to just enjoy it. Enjoy food. Enjoy people. Enjoy life. Enjoy nature. Enjoy happiness. Enjoy sadness. I mean, take your emotions. This is according to Morrie Shorts. A lot of people, we bottle up on our emotions and we don't feel them. Try to feel sadness. Because a lot of people, they avoid it. They run away from it. But try to feel sadness. In terms of analysis, in terms of deeper meaning, Morrie says to go into the state where when you're happy, feel all of it and then learn how to step away from it. When you're sad, feel all of it and then learn to step away from it. When you're afraid of your own emotions, it makes life even horrible for you. When you feel jealousy, anger, hatred, lust, ask yourself, why do I feel that? How can I step away from it? Or why do I feel envious towards this person? Is there a way I can change that? Or feel the envy. Don't act on it. Feel it, and then let it go. Because Morrie, he shares regrets on how he, had friends. His pride and his ego told him never to talk to that person again, and then he never talked to that person again, and then he lost that friend forever. Because pride, anger, hatred, they only rip people away from you. And the secret to life is the more you have those close connections and bonds with people, the more you can laugh with them and be with them and just exist with them, the more rich and fulfilling your life will be. Because I guarantee you, if you were the richest man or richest woman on earth, and there wasn't one other person, you would be depressed and alone, and none of it would matter. Because I guarantee you, one of the most important reasons why people go after fame and riches and money is because they want to impress others. They want the adoration, the praise of others. And when you don't get that, it sucks. It truly sucks. So this book, again, there's just so much to it. I think it's just a work of philosophy on its own. I think this is the meaning of life. I mean, the Bible talks about it. The Quran talks about it. This doesn't specifically mention all of that, but there are intersections where ideas from the Quran and from philosophers and from, different works of philosophy, they just come into this book. Because, think about romanticism. Think about existentialism. Think about transcendentalism. those movements and knowing the world and being a part of nature. Think about Thoreau, Emerson, right? Think about our roles in the universe and nature and living and life. And this book kind of like it doesn't mention all of it, but I feel like all of that comes in to Morrie Short's life and what the meaning of life is to him. I mean, we'll never know. I mean, everybody has their own idea and their own religion of what's next after this life, but we never know. No one knows. Because, I mean, no one's ever... Some people say they have, but no one's ever jumped from one side to the other and wrote told us exactly or what happened or if we can even believe in that. So this novel really, it really asks big questions, and it leaves us with big questions and somewhat of an answer, because it kind of tells us the meaning of life. Life. Wow. Well, that's all I had to say. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment. And live your life. Make your life better. Make your life greater. Spend some time with your loved ones. I mean, be happy, why don't you? Be happy. Be better. Be greater. That's the message of Morrie Schwartz. That's it.